Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Binoculars, your view into nature, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Aditya Panda. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. Over to you, Aditya.
Thank you, Rob. Hello, everyone. I hope you've all had a nice start to the week and are enjoying yourselves wherever in the world you are. Today's topic is, well, it's not one I've done a presentation on before, but I hope to share with you some useful insights into the world of binoculars. But before we start, for those of you who haven't seen one of my presentations in the past or haven't had a chance to travel with me, my name is Aditya Panda, and I've been leading NatHab's India expeditions since 2016. I lead what we call India's tiger trips, and these are the Grand India Wildlife Adventure, which I'm soon looking forward to start. It's the start of a new season for us here in India this month. And in 2 weeks, I'll be leading my first Grand India trip of the season. I also lead the India Tiger Quest, which is a summer trip focused on tigers, as well as India Tiger Safari, which is a Photo Pro expedition, also a summer trip focused on photographing tigers. I'm based in Eastern India, Eastern Central part of India. And when I'm not leading NatHab trips, I focus myself on conservation work here in tiger and elephant landscapes. So let's get into our topic. Now, it's astonishing how underrated this piece of equipment is, and how even seasoned wildlife travelers and wildlife photographers as well tend to ignore what I believe is the single most important piece of equipment in any wildlife watcher's bag. The idea of doing a presentation on this topic came to me recently when it was time for me to upgrade, well, not upgrade, but to buy a new pair of binoculars after my old ones, which I had used for a good nearly 15 years, started to fall apart. Not because they were built poor, but because I'd really been subjecting them to the elements, and you know how safari guides are. We really put our equipment through the grind. And I was using a pair of Carl Zeiss Victory FL binoculars, which were the flagship back in 2010. And my binoculars lasted me until it's 13 years now. But their age was beginning to show, and all that safari dust had begun to wear them out a bit. So it was time for me to buy a new pair of binoculars. So it all started like this. I had planned to, I had budgeted to buy a new pair of binoculars, as well as upgrading my camera to a flagship mirrorless body this year. That is before the start of the next season, which, as I told you, is in 2 weeks. And I had narrowed down on a pair of binoculars which were a lot of value for money, costing about $400 or so. And that's what I had mentally set aside for my new binoculars. And I called up a friend who is very experienced with this sort of stuff. And I just wanted to sound him off on my choice. And what he told me completely changed my budget, my plans, everything. He said to me that, Aditya, binoculars are not things that you change every 3 years or 4 years. They are things that you would want to invest in. They're not just, an iPhone or a gadget of some sort that you buy and then upgrade very frequently. You want to invest in a pair of binoculars that are going to take the punishment that you subject them to, that are going to be stellar quality, and that are going to last you a good decade or decade and a half, or maybe more. If you look after them, they can last 2 or 3 decades easily. And wildlife watching being both my passion and profession, and something that I take really, really seriously, he said that you must invest in the best pair of binoculars that you can afford to. Because number one, your entire quality of wildlife watching depends on the quality of your binoculars. And number two, you can't wreck your eyes, by staring for hours and hours, over a long period of time, looking through a cheap pair of binoculars or a less than stellar pair of binoculars. And there went my decision to buy the flagship mirrorless camera this year. And I immediately took his advice and bought myself this brand new pair of Carl Zeiss 10 by 40 SFL binoculars, which are a stellar pair of binoculars again. And I'm absolutely happy with my decision. Yes, photography is very, very important to me. Yes, I could do with the latest and the greatest when it comes to cameras and lenses, but both as a naturalist and even as a photographer, binoculars are more important to me than cameras. Because even as a wildlife photographer, the quality of pictures that I take depends entirely on the quality of sightings that I have. And the quality of sightings is highly dependent on the quality of binoculars that I use. So a lot of my guests and a lot of my friends who are into wildlife photography get a little surprised when when they ask me what the most important piece of equipment in my camera bag is, and they're expecting me to say a particular camera body or one main lens that I use primarily for my wildlife photography. But my answer is always that the most important kit of equipment in my camera bag is my pair of binoculars. So on that note, let's begin today's topic. Today I'm going to talk to you about binoculars. If you are a birder, if you are somebody who enjoys watching wildlife, if you are a NatHab traveler, because then the purpose of your travels is to watch wildlife, or at least a major purpose of why you travel with us is to watch wildlife. Or if you are a wildlife photographer, no matter what category you fit into, all of these things that I just listed, the single most important piece of equipment you can carry with you are your binoculars. You travel all this distance all over the world to the world's finest wilderness areas looking for rare and exotic wildlife. And when you arrive there, and find what you're looking for, to be looking at them through a pair of glasses that compromises the quality of your sighting, that compromises what you're looking at, that just isn't fair, I think. And therefore, it is very, very important that one invests in the best possible pair of binoculars that one can buy. And today we are going to talk about that. So let's start with what the types of binoculars are. The two basic types of binoculars. The classic binocular shape, the large binoculars that we are all used to seeing, and especially in the old days, were a kind called prism, which is on the left-hand side of your screen right now. All the old vintage binoculars that you see, most of them, if not all of them, were prism types. And even now you can get a lot of prism binoculars. But what are more popular and have become more popular over the last few years, or maybe a decade and a half, are what we call roof prism binoculars. So these are the two basic kinds of binoculars that you'll find in the market: roof prism and prism. They have their own pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. The older prism binoculars, of course, were heavy and large, but they did fit nicely in your hands. I definitely like the feel of them. They're also cheaper, and you tend to get good quality optics for a much cheaper price. But they are quite heavy, so having them hang around your neck all day can be painful. Looking through them for a long time can make your hands ache. The weight, of course, adds shake and movement, which compromises the quality of your viewing. And because they're now considered outdated and old-fashioned, you don't get a lot of variety in the choice of binoculars that exist in the market now. Also, prism binoculars don't tend to last very long. They're not usually weather sealed and nitrogen purged and all of the fancy things that you get with new age binoculars like the roof prism binoculars. Roof prism binoculars are comparatively more expensive, but they're also very compact because of the design, the fundamental design change that exists between the two of them. They also are more robust and tend to last longer, but they are state of the art. They're the latest and the greatest. And most of the major manufacturers are tending to lean towards roof prism binoculars, and therefore you have a wide variety of models and choices that you can choose from. Also, a lot of roof prism binoculars these days, especially the high-end ones, tend to be nitrogen purged and built very, very well, and they're weather sealed, so they last for really, really long. So those very basically are the two major types of binoculars that you can choose from. Now, let's look at the basic parts of a binocular. We are going to talk a little in detail about what to look for in a good pair of binoculars, and therefore I thought it will be useful to just make you familiar with the parts of a binocular. So these here are your eyepiece, the lenses that face your eyes. These are the objective lenses that face the subject. This is your center focus wheel that you can turn around to continuously keep your subject in focus. Binoculars also have diopter adjustment that I'm going to explain later. In some binoculars like this one, you have it on one of the eyepieces or right behind one of the eyepieces. And in others, you have it on the center focus wheel. It doesn't make a difference where the diopter adjustment it does the same job, and I'll explain that. And of course, you have your eye cups, which turn out and can be screwed back in, and I'll tell you the purpose of that as well. And some binoculars come equipped with a tripod mount screw. Others can have an accessory attached to them that can make it possible to mount them on a tripod. So those very basically are the basic parts of binoculars that you need to know. Now, when you look at binoculars, if you look binoculars up on Amazon or on the internet or anywhere, they all come with a set of numbers with them, and a lot of people find that confusing and hard to understand, but they're not all that complicated. Most binoculars, if you look them up, will come with numbers next to them like 7 into 35 or 8 into 40 or 10 into 50 or 10 into 42, 12 into 60, and so on. What do these numbers mean? Now, if you look at my binoculars here, which are also in the picture on your screen, these are 10 by 40s. What that means is that anything I look at through them is going to be magnified 10 times, and the diameter of the objective lens is 40 millimeters. Now, why that is important, what these numbers mean, is not very difficult to understand. Magnification, of course, is very easy to understand. 10x, 8x, 7x, 12x, 15x, they all just refer to the number of times your subject is magnified. The diameter of the objective lens decides two things. Number one, it decides the size of your binoculars. Compact binoculars like the ones you can put in your pocket or carry to the opera, they tend to have very small objective lenses, while full-sized binoculars tend to have larger ones. The other important function of the diameter of the objective lens is the size of the objective lens automatically decides how much light it's going to let in. So a larger lens is going to let in more light, a smaller lens is going to let in less light. Therefore, binocular with a large objective lens is going to let in much more light, produce a much brighter image, and is going to be far more useful when the light is low. So that, I hope, clears all doubts about the numbers that are always next to the name of a binocular. The next important number to keep in mind is that of your field of view. Field of view basically tells you how wide a view you get as you peer through your binoculars. The illustrations on your screen will make that very easy to understand. Field of view is usually represented, if you read up about the binocular models that you are looking up, the field of view is usually represented either in degrees or in feet per 1,000 yards. So ideally 6 degrees or higher is considered a nice, good field of view. Anything less than that is going to give what is known as tunnel vision. You might have high magnification and bright objective lenses, but your field of view is going to be very, very narrow, and therefore you will not be able to see much of what is going around your subject. So 6 degrees is considered the minimum for a decent pair of binoculars. Anything higher is always better. Next, we need to keep in mind eye relief. Eye relief is basically the distance from your pupil to the eyepiece of your binocular, the eyepiece lens. What that does again is that that's a figure that's always measured and mentioned in millimeters, and it just tells you how far your eye can be from the eyepiece. And the farther away your eye is from the eyepiece, while having a clear picture that's sharp from edge to edge, the farther away your eye is from the eyepiece, the more comfortable it is for your eyes. If your eyepiece is too close to your eye, that's going to strain your eye, and it's going to make your head hurt if you look for too long through a binocular that does not have enough eye relief. Usually the minimum eye relief that is expected to be there in a good pair of binoculars is 15 millimeters. A lot of good ones have 18 or 20 millimeters, which makes it much more pleasant to watch through binoculars for extended periods of time. Next, we come to the all-important, optics. The quality of your optics, the quality of the lenses that go into your binoculars can make or break your binoculars. The brightness of the image that you see, or the resolution, if you want to call it that, the sharpness with which you can see it, the accuracy of colors that the binocular reproduces are all crucial for quality wildlife observation, for quality bird watching, or for a high quality viewing experience. When you're looking at wildlife or birds, the main reason why you're using binoculars are because animals and birds can be hard to see, and they can be really far away a lot of times. Or if it's a dragonfly or a butterfly or a frog or a crab or something that's closer to you but quite small, you want to magnify that view through your binoculars to have a nice clear look at what you're seeing. And when you're looking at something that is far away, probably already sort of not very clear because of the distance, because it might be behind vegetation, because of heat haze and several other reasons. The thing that you expect from this piece of equipment is to make that sight or that view better. So when you put your binoculars to your eyes, if they're a cheap pair of binoculars, what you see might be large, but not necessarily sharp, not necessarily bright. There might be a lot of distortion. Purple fringing is something photographers are very familiar with. You see the bright parts of the image, the edge of things, they tend to look purple because the quality of glass is such that there's a lot of distortion. And also, of course, you want accurate colors, especially when you're birding. If you want to identify species that you don't see often, or if you want to have a good look at a bird, say, imagine seeing a bird of paradise or something like that, beautiful, bright colored bird, or even hummingbirds for that matter. And you look at them through binoculars and you get a muddy, sort of non-contrasty, unsaturated image. And that's a shame. You want something that does justice to the appearance, the color of the animal or bird, and something that should match or exceed what you see with your naked eye. So it is really, really important to buy a pair of binoculars that have really high quality optics in them. Now, this is something that a lot of people get confused with. There have been cases where both with cameras and binoculars, I've had guests who have arrived with a brand new pair of a brand new pair of binoculars in one case and a brand new camera in another case. And, they had just started using them on that trip. And they were so upset and so disappointed that they had made this expensive investment, but no matter what they did, nothing seemed to be sharp, nothing seemed to be in focus, both in the case of the camera and the binoculars. And they asked me to have a look at their binoculars, and I put them to my eye, and sure enough, no matter how much you focused, you just couldn't get a sharp image. And then I looked at this, the diopter. The diopter is basically an adjustment for eye power. If your eyesight is 20 by 20, or if you're wearing correction glasses and using binoculars with your glasses, you can leave the diopter adjustment at 0, and you'll be perfectly fine. You'll have no problem. But a lot of times what happens is that the diopter adjustment dial gets turned by accident, which was the reason I found for my guests to be so upset with their brand new pair of binoculars and their brand new camera. And the moment I adjusted it, they were so relieved and so happy that their piece of equipment worked. But the correct way to use the diopter adjustment on a pair of binoculars is, and of course you should only be adjusting the diopter at anything other than 0, only if you wear prescription glasses and you're using your binoculars without your glasses. If you use them with your glasses, leave them at 0. If you're using them without your glasses, then this is how you adjust the diopter. Diopter adjustment always adjusts the right-hand side lens of your, the right-hand side eyepiece of your binoculars, and it doesn't do anything to the left-hand side. So the way to adjust it is to go out. Ideally, you should mount your binoculars on a tripod to make it absolutely accurate. Then you need to focus on something that is approximately 100 yards away. Look through your binoculars. Through your binoculars. Close the right-hand objective with your palm, and while looking through your left eye, adjust focus till the subject is absolutely sharp. Now, once the subject is absolutely sharp with your left eye, close your left objective and look through your right eye. While looking through your right eye, adjust the diopter dial till the subject is absolutely in focus, and there your diopter is adjusted. But again, I must repeat, if you're wearing prescription glasses and if you're keeping your glasses on while looking through your binoculars, then just leave it at 0. And as I was mentioning, in some binoculars, the diopter adjustment is on the eyepiece, while in others it's on the center focus dial. But in both cases, the way to adjust it is the same. So I hope you were taking notes, and if you will not, then there will be a replay link. So if you are confused about diopter adjustment, just look at it again. Now, what you're seeing on your screen is not a picture of some faraway galaxy. It's something that you never want to see on any of your lenses, be it your camera lenses or your binoculars, and that is fungus. Any dust particles or any fungal spores can find their way into most lenses and binoculars. And in humid environments, in humid weather, whenever the atmospheric humidity is more than, say, about 60% or so, there are high chances that you will have fungus affecting your lenses. All of us who are photographers are constantly dealing with it. We invest in dry boxes and dry cabinets to store our lenses, and use silica gel and whatnot. One of the solutions that binoculars have found for that is what is known as nitrogen purging. So you have all the higher quality binoculars these days come with the cylinder, the gap between the barrels, the gap between the lenses, the gap between the eyepiece and the objective lens, absolutely sealed off, made airtight, and filled with nitrogen. That is something that is always something to look for before you're purchasing a binocular. Nitrogen is going to be 100% dry. It doesn't contain any, air contains 21% oxygen, but if you put in pure nitrogen into binoculars with no oxygen, that is an environment in which fungus cannot grow. Nitrogen is also going to be absolutely free of humidity, so it's going to eliminate all chances of fungus and also of lens fogging. So nitrogen purged binoculars, for that reason, are always something to look for, something to choose. And not only do they make your binoculars fungus proof and fog proof, they also automatically mean that your binoculars are waterproof and weatherproof. So you can use them in the rain and not worry about it at all. Which brings me to another important criteria to look for while choosing binoculars, which is weather sealing and very high build quality. Now, if you go back to what I was saying about the $400 pair of binoculars that I had initially decided to buy, they were of the same brand as the ones I bought, and the ones that I had been using for very many years. So, that brand is not known to produce cheap stuff. That brand is not known to produce low quality stuff. So as far as the optics were concerned, even with those $400 pair of binoculars, I had no doubt that the quality of glass would be compromised. But where the compromise lay was actually in the quality of rubber and plastics that were used on the exterior of the binoculars. Now, my binoculars face all kinds of temperatures, from freezing cold in snow leopard habitats of -20 or -25 Celsius to close to +50 Celsius when I'm on our summer tiger trips, which is almost ranging between 110 and 120 Fahrenheit. and they go to extremely dusty environments. They also are exposed to rain and every form of inclement weather. So it was very, very important for me that the binoculars are built, that the build quality is good enough that they last for a very long time. I could have bought those $400 pair of binoculars and they would have been great, absolutely great this season, maybe the next season as well. But the season after that, I would 100% be facing issues with, loose focus, the center focus ring, or eye cups that where the rubber was beginning to peel off, and issues like that. So I'm perfectly happy with my decision to spend, you know, 4 times that money and buy something else. Ergonomics are very important as well. Your binoculars need to be comfortable to carry around. They need to be comfortable to hold in your hands and to look through them for extended periods of time. So do look for binoculars that are built well, that are balanced well, that have a nice shape. These binoculars, the ones that I have now, are actually built in such a way that the center of gravity is closer to the eyes. So when I'm holding them like these, holding them like this close to my eyes, most of the weight is in this region. It's not in the rear section of the binoculars. Then the binoculars are not. I'm not struggling to hold them in place. With most of the weight being here close to the eyepiece, it's a really, really comfortable position for me to rest my binoculars on my palms like this and just watch for hours and hours if required. Of course, no one continuously watches for hours, but you get the drift. You need to be able to hold them for extended periods of time on a long day out in the field. This is a question that I get very often. Binoculars usually come with a strap that goes around your neck, and that is perfectly fine, except that when you're walking, say you're on a hike or on a walking safari, and you're hanging your binocular from your neck, it's dangling about. And also, all the weight of the binocular is on your neck. So you have a couple of pounds or more of weight hanging from your neck. So over extended periods of time, of course, your neck is going to start to hurt. And for people who have spondylitis and things like that, that just makes it all the more painful. So one piece of accessory that I always buy the first thing after getting a new pair of binoculars, actually I don't have to buy one because NatHab gifts all its expedition leaders one, and you can also find it on our gear store, and that is a binocular harness. I did a little bit of model photography today to show you guys how the harness functions and how it looks. Once you put your binocular on a shoulder harness, you just wear it like wearing a backpack, and then it just stays in place near your chest. You just adjust it to stay near your chest, and you completely forget about it. You walk around, your hands are free, your neck isn't taking any weight. All the weight is distributed over your shoulders and back, and whenever you need to look, just very naturally pick up your binoculars and let them loose, and they'll go right back to your chest. So I strongly recommend shoulder and chest harness for your binoculars. That really makes a world of a difference. A lot of people like to carry compact binoculars because, of course, they're easy to carry. They weigh almost nothing. You can put them in your pocket. But compact binoculars do have their disadvantages. The biggest disadvantage is that for the same amount of magnification, say 8 times or 10 times magnification, they're going to have a much smaller objective lens diameter. And as I was explaining a while ago, a smaller objective lens means less light comes through, less contrast, less brightness, less sharp, I mean, not necessarily less sharp images, but uh, except in bright light, except in good sunshine, the amount of light that transmits into your binoculars is greatly reduced when the objective lens size is below, say, 40 millimeters, and it's even worse when it is below 30 millimeters. A lot of the compact binoculars, the pocket binoculars, have objective lenses that are lesser than 30 millimeters. And with wildlife watching and bird watching, that is quite a compromise. These compact binoculars are fine if you carry them on your regular morning and evening walks in the park in your neighborhood, or if you're using them to, look at a baseball game or just at an opera or something. But for wildlife, for safari, for birding, I would definitely recommend that you get the largest binoculars that you can comfortably carry around and hold and watch. Another important criteria is minimum focus distance. Minimum focus distance is something we don't usually think about when we are thinking of buying binoculars, because the natural tendency is that binoculars are meant to look at things that are far away. So how does minimum focusing distance matter? Well, it does. You don't always only look at things that are far away. You also look at smaller things that are close, but too small to comfortably observe or closely observe with your naked eyes. So if it is a crab like this lovely bright red ghost crab, for example, or a butterfly, or even a small bird that is, say, flying around or hopping around, say, at a distance of 5 to 8 or 10 feet, your binoculars need to be able to focus that close. And not all of them can do it. Always look up the minimum focusing distance value in the brochure or the website or whatever it is that you're looking up your binocular on. Binoculars that tend to have high magnifications, say 12 times or 15 times, also tend to have a farther minimum focusing distance. My binoculars, which are 10 by 40s, can focus as close as 1.5 meters, which is about 4.5 feet, which I think is plenty for me, and it's really, really good, in fact. Imagine watching something that is 4.5 feet from you, but is 10 times bigger, be it observing flowers or birds or butterflies. It makes a really big difference. So do keep minimum focusing distance in mind as well. And of course, low light viewability or low light visibility is crucial. We watch wildlife. We watch things that are at their most active early in the morning, at the first hour after sunrise, and late in the evening, which is the first hour before sunset, and even at sunset or after sunset. A good pair of binoculars will have high light transmission. The ones I have been talking about and the ones that I've bought have a 95% light transmission. You know what that means? It means that even, say, half an hour after the sun has set, when I'm not being able to look at things with my naked eyes, if I look through my binoculars at a leopard sitting on a hillock, or elephants far away, or even birds for that matter, or nightjars, things like that, even half an hour after the sun has set and my eyes are unable to pick those things, If I look through my binoculars, I can see my subject bright as day. So a good pair of binoculars will have really good low light capabilities. Now, mind you, I'm saying low light capability, not night capability. Night vision is a completely different ball game altogether. We're not going to go into that in today's webinar. So low light conditions might not necessarily always be under, around sunrise or sunset. On a rainy, cloudy day, overcast day, you might still have low light. Like the day I photographed this kingfisher in my garden, it was an overcast, rainy day, and the light was really low. So in those circumstances, you should be able to have nice, bright views when you look through your binoculars. I've also been quite surprised at how a lot of people do not know how to correctly hold and use their binoculars. Number one, they're binoculars. So, you are supposed to look with both your eyes. A lot of people tend to shut one eye when they're looking through binoculars. Don't do that. There's no need to do that. It's not a telescope. It's not a monocular. It's not a spot. They're binoculars. So stereoscopic vision, that gives you a real life 3D effect. Look with both your eyes. Hold your binoculars in a firm but comfortable grip. Stability is very important. So make sure that your binoculars are held stable. Support the barrels with both your palms. Your thumbs go around the barrels near your eyepiece like that. Hold it close to your eye and, press it into your eye, press the eye cups into your face, not too hard, of course, but enough to give you a very stable, well-supported feeling. And use your index fingers to adjust the focus. And you need to continuously adjust focus as your subject moves around. That is very, very important to have a continuously sharp view. Eye cups in binoculars also confuse a lot of people. There's a reason why they exist. The eye cups can be screwed in or out, as you can see. When you're watching without glasses, without spectacles, when you're watching with your naked eyes, unscrew the, don't unscrew them completely, but open them out like that and hold the binoculars to your eyes. And you're going to get a nice eye relief and a nice clean view through your binoculars. But if you're using glasses, you need to screw the eye cups in, because the glasses themselves create eye relief in front of your eye. So you need to compensate for that distance by turning these in and then pressing them to your glasses. So that is what the eye cups do. I hope that sort of demystified eye cups for you. Now, the most important thing about using binoculars for watching wildlife. And this is something that a lot of people get easily frustrated with. Now, you see this scene here from Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve, which is one of our main destinations on the Grand India Wildlife Adventure. And I am pointing out something, I don't remember what, to be honest, to my guests. Perhaps it was an eagle. And as you can see, like good wildlife travelers, all of us in this picture have binoculars. But as I'm pointing to this hard to spot bird far away to my guests, the two of them are reacting very differently to it. One of them is trying to look for the bird with his binoculars to his eyes, while the other guest is trying to find the subject with her naked eyes. Which of them is correct? It's always, quite frustrating and unrewarding to search for things with binoculars. Don't do that. If you don't know where your subject is, chances are that with binoculars to your eyes, you'll never find it. Because what binoculars do is they do give you magnification, but they also give you a very narrow field of view, much narrower than your natural field of view, with your naked eyes. So as it is, you do not know where your subject is in that vast canvas that your expedition leader is pointing into. And when you put binoculars to your eyes, you're looking at an even narrower perspective. So your chances of finding it are very, very poor. So the best thing to do always is to try and locate the subject with your naked eyes. And I understand that that might not always be possible. So in those cases where you're not being able to see the subject with your naked eyes, at least try and understand the rough area where it is, the branch on which it is, or narrow it down to a very specific area, and then put your binoculars to your eyes and look for it, and chances are you're going to find it much more easily. Here's a fun hack. Binoculars can be turned into really effective magnifying glasses. Just turn them around and look through the objective, and turn your eyepiece into the objective and hold whatever it is that you're looking at close to the eyepiece, and they make really effective magnifying glasses. A few quick points about caring for binoculars. Important to keep them safe from the elements, of course. Keep your dust caps on when you're not looking through them. One of the reasons why my older pair of binoculars had to be retired so early in their life was because my dust caps had fallen off somewhere and in some safari jeep, and I wasn't being able to get a replacement pair. So very quickly, dust started gathering and the coating started to peel off. So do keep the dust caps on. Clean your binoculars after you have a long day in the field. Always use one of those rocket blower things to blow the dust away. Try not to clean with a cloth unless absolutely necessary. And when absolutely necessary, that is, if you have smudges and things like that on your binocular lens element, then use a microfiber cloth with, either blow onto your binoculars with your own breath and wipe it off using the moisture, or use a high quality lens cleaning fluid. And expensive binoculars, the well-built binoculars from good brands often come with lifetime warranty, so keep your warranty papers in place. That's very important. And when you're putting them away for a long period of time without use, it's always advisable to keep them in a dry cabinet like you store camera lenses. Now, the big question: how much should you be spending on a pair of binoculars? I would say that a stellar pair of binoculars are expensive, but they're not really all that expensive. I mean, they cost only not very much more than what your smartphone usually costs. And remember, your smartphone is something that you usually upgrade every 4 or 5 years, if not less. We travel on all these long trips across the world, on airlines, and for the price of much lesser than a business class air ticket, you could get the absolute flagship binoculars from a really, really good company. I would say that all the decent pairs of binoculars start from about 1,000 US dollars or so range, while the best ones are about in the range of $2,000. The stellar, beyond stellar, excellent plus flagship models can be as much as $4,000 or thereabouts. But you do get a lot of value for money binoculars from companies like Nikon, Pentax, Vortex, Bushnell, etc. in the 300, 400 to say about $800 range, and you can get some really good, very compelling models that give you a lot of bang for buck. But I would say if a pair of binoculars costs less than about $300 to $400, it really might not be worth it. These are some of the things that you shouldn't fall for when binocular shopping. Image stabilization is available in some expensive binoculars, but I find it sort of self-defeating. Of course, you press a button and the image is stabilized. The lenses start, to counter they're mounted on little gimbals that counter the shake of your hands as you're looking through the binoculars. But the whole image stabilization paraphernalia and the motors and things that go with it add unnecessary weight to your binoculars, making them heavier. And when they become heavier, obviously they become more shaky, and that's why you need the image stabilization. So it's sort of self-defeating in that way, that on the one hand you put image stabilization, and on the other hand it becomes automatically unavoidable because the image stabilization itself is adding so much weight to your binoculars. Avoid zoom binoculars by all means. There are binoculars that zoom from 8 to about 16x, and that's they're always of compromised optical quality, so I would always avoid those. There are binoculars that come with built-in little digital cameras. You can look through them and press a button and you get a very poor quality picture, but those binoculars also tend to have very poor quality glass, so not worth it. Anything more than 10 times magnification is of no use for wildlife. They're going to be too shaky, and the field of view is going to be too narrow to make them worthwhile for wildlife and bird watching. And of course, as I was mentioning, avoid the compact opera binocular types, and also the supermarket variety cheap binoculars that you can buy for $20 or $50, but they're really not worth it. Last slide. What are the right pair of binoculars for you? After keeping all of these points that I discussed, I would recommend that for beginners, 8 times magnification is better. It gives you a wider field of view. It makes it easier for you to find your bird or your animal. The rule of thumb earlier used to be that birders should get at least 10 times binoculars, while safari people should get 8 times, because birds, of course, are a smaller subject and you need higher magnification. But a lot of people struggle to find their subject with 10 times magnification binoculars. So for beginners, 8 times is a safe place to start, and then depending upon how you feel over a few years of using them, you can decide whether you want an even higher magnification, or if you want to go down to something even wider, such as 7 times. And with that, we shall bring today's webinar to an end, and I am looking forward to what questions you have for me.
All right, thank you so much. Now, before we start in with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. Now, you did cover so much and answer so many of the questions we are So lucky about that. So let me ask you, is there some sort of a harness strap that could hold both your binoculars and your camera at the same time?
Not that I'm aware of, but you tend to find all kinds of things on eBay and Amazon these days. Um, there are camera harnesses that can hold two cameras, on both sides of you. I don't think it'll be too difficult to engineer something that can also take in your binoculars at the chest area. But that's a good question, Rob. That's something I would definitely like to have.
Now, if I am a little physically challenged and I'm not really that strong, is there a good lighter weight pair of binoculars that I could be looking for?
Yes, in fact, the trend with the high-end binoculars these days is to go towards lightness and compactness. So these binoculars that I have bought are the same magnification as the ones I had earlier, but they're much lighter and much smaller. These are the Carl Zeiss SFL 10 by 40, and the L in SFL stands for lightweight.
Great. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's the only questions that you did not answer today. So I'm going to throw it back to you for some closing comments.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, everyone. I hope you found today's webinar useful. I'm sorry I went a little over the time and kept you all waiting. I look forward to seeing you all again soon on Daily Dose of Nature. Thank you, everyone.
Aditya, thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in and joined us today. Now, if you are interested in information on how you could travel with NatHab, please give us a call at the number on your screen, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude today's webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We will see you next time.